My hands were shaking as I stood in the great hall of the Galactic Council. Thousands of alien eyes watched me from every direction. I am Admiral Caius Vance, the human representative, and today I was fighting for the future of my entire species. The air smelled strange, like old metal and burning flowers. The council hall was built from silver stone that glowed. From within, tall pillars reached up into a ceiling I could not even see. Around me sat beings from hundreds of worlds. Some looked like snakes standing on their tails, others were made of living crystal. Some had too many arms, too many eyes, and mouths in places that made me uncomfortable to look at. Grand Arbiter Zethan of the Valorian Dominion pointed one long silver finger at me. His voice was smooth and cold, like ice sliding over glass. "Human," he said, "you stand accused of species aggression. You attacked the Krill hegemony without council approval. You broke our sacred laws. What do you say for yourself?" I stepped forward, my boots made loud sounds on the polished floor. I knew every word I said now mattered more than anything I had ever said in my life. "The Krill attacked our colony first," I answered. My voice did not shake even though my hands did. "They came to Meridian 3 and took 2,000 of our people, children, families, workers who had never held anything more dangerous than a farming tool." We asked this council for help. We waited 40 days. No one came. Zethan smiled. I did not like that smile. "You should have waited longer," he said. "They would have all been gone by then." I said, "We sent ships to bring our people home. That is all we did. We did not attack Krill worlds. We did not harm their civilians. We protected our own." An old Zelothi delegate, long and thin, like a green snake, raised his voice. "The humans grow too fast. They build too many ships. They spread across the stars like a sickness. This is not about one small fight. This is about what humans are becoming." I felt my heart sink. I understood now. The trial was never about the Krill. It was about fear. They were afraid of us. 40 years ago, humanity had made first contact with the stars. The council had welcomed us with cold smiles and careful rules. They thought we would stay small. They thought we would be grateful. They did not expect us to build fast, learn fast, and spread across 12 star systems. In just 4 decades, other species took centuries to do what we did in years. The Valerians had ruled this part of space for 10,000 years. The Zelothi had ancient empires older than our history books, and here came humans, loud and fast and hungry, making them all look slow. I looked around the hall. I searched for any friendly face. Every face I saw was either angry or afraid, except one. The Orothan delegate, a tall being made of blue crystal, watched me with eyes that held something softer, sadness, maybe, or pity. She did not speak, but she did not look away either. "The vote will now be taken," Zethu announced. I wanted to say more. I wanted to shout that we had done nothing wrong, that saving innocent lives was not a crime. But I knew my words would not change anything. The choice had been made long before I arrived today. The voting beads floated up into the air. Above each delegate, red beads meant guilty, white beads meant innocent. Within seconds, the air above the hall turned into a sea of red. Only one white bead shone among them all. The Orothan Zethian's smile grew wider. "The vote is clear. Humanity is found guilty of species aggression." My throat went dry, I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. The punishment is as follows: Zethian. Continued all human colonies outside your home system are to be abandoned. Within 30 days, you're faster than light. Technology will be sealed behind quarantine beacons you will return to. Your home system saw and you will stay there forever. Any human ship found beyond the beacon line will be destroyed. Without warning, the words hit me like stones. Our colonies, 12 worlds, millions of people. Homes, farms, cities built with sweat and hope, all of it gone, taken from us. You cannot do this, I said. My voice was quiet now, not from fear but from the kind of anger that burns cold and deep. Those worlds belong to us, our people built them. Those worlds belong to the Council. Zethian said, we allowed you to live on them, now we take that permission back. I looked at every delegate in that hall. I looked at them and I remembered their faces, every single one of them. The snake, like Zelothi, the insect-bodied krill who had done the original attack and now smiled like they had won a prize. The smug Valyrians in their silver robes, I burned their faces into my memory. 2 council guards came to escort me out. Their hands were firm on my arms. I did not fight them, I walked with my head up. But before I left the hall, I stopped. I turned around one last time. Every eye in that massive chamber was on me. The whole galaxy was watching through the Council's broadcast system. Billions of beings on thousands of worlds were seeing this moment. I spoke clearly so every microphone could hear me. You think you have caged us, I said. You think distance and time will make us small again. You think we will grow weak in our little corner of space while you go on ruling the stars. Zethan laughed. We think you will learn your place, human. I smiled then. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who has lost everything and has nothing left to lose. You have not caged us, I said. You have only given us time to think, and humans, when we think long enough, we find answers. You should pray we never come back to share those answers with you. The guards pulled me forward. I let them. As I walked down the long hallway toward my ship, I heard the hall erupt. Behind me, some delegates were laughing. Others were clapping. They thought it was over. They thought they had won. My shuttle was waiting. The pilot, a young human woman named Clara Bennett, looked up at me with worried eyes. She had heard everything. Admiral, she said softly, what do we do now? I sat down heavily in my seat. Outside the shuttle window, the beautiful Council world of Velthari Prime shone in the light of its 3 suns. I would never see it again. None of us would. We go home, Clara, I said. We go home. And we remember. The shuttle lifted off. As we rose through the clouds, I watched the Council city grow smaller below us. I thought about the 12 colony worlds we would have to abandon. I thought about the families who would have to leave everything behind. I thought about the children who would grow up hearing stories of stars they could never visit. And I thought about Zetha's cold smile. Admiral Clara asked, are you all right? No, I said honestly, but I will be. And so will humanity. How can you be sure? I looked out at the stars as we broke through the atmosphere, billions of them, spread across the black sky like scattered diamonds. The Council controlled most of them. The Council thought they controlled us too. Because they made a mistake today, I said. They think banishing us is the end of our story, but it is only the Beginning, they gave us something very dangerous, Clara. They gave us time. Time to build, time to learn. Time to become something they cannot imagine. I closed my eyes and leaned back in my seat. Set course for Sol, I said. Full speed, we have work to do. The shuttle's engines roared. We left Velthari Prime behind. We left the Council behind. We left the civilized galaxy behind. But as the stars blurred into lines of light around us, I was already making plans that would take centuries to complete, plans that would change everything. The Council had just planted a seed. Dark soil, they thought nothing would grow there. They thought the seed would rot and be forgotten. They were wrong. Somewhere in the deep black between the stars, that seed was already starting to grow. And one day it would return to them as a forest on fire. The ride home took 6 weeks. 6 long weeks of silence and thinking. By the time we reached Earth, I had already sent secret messages to every human leader in every system. My words were simple. Come home, bring everything, bring everyone, we have much to do. And then came the hardest part, watching our people leave the colony worlds. Families crying as they packed boxes. Children asking why they had to go. Old people taking one last look at gardens they had spent lifetimes growing. Council ships watched us the whole time. They made sure we took nothing valuable. They stripped our colony worlds of our technology. They laughed as we loaded our sad ships with what little they allowed us to keep. I stood on the deck of my flagship and watched it all. I watched and I remembered. Behind my eyes, a plan was forming. A plan the Council would never see coming. A plan that would take hundreds of years to finish. But humans are patient when we need to be. And we were going to be very, very patient. The first years back in Sol system were the hardest. Imagine taking millions of people who had lived on open worlds with wide skies and forcing them all back into one small star system. There was not enough room, not enough food, not enough hope. Riots broke out on Mars, fights on the lunar colonies. Leaders argued about who was to blame. Some wanted to attack the Council right away. Others wanted to beg for mercy. Most just wanted to give up. I called together every human leader in one great meeting on Earth. The meeting lasted 11 days. I did not sleep. I did not eat much. I talked and listened and argued until my voice was almost gone. And at the end of those 11 days, we all agreed on one thing. We would never be weak again. A new government was born that night. The Terran Imperium, one people, one purpose, one goal. Return to the stars, not as visitors, not as members of any council. Return as something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. And when we returned, we would remember everything, every insult, every lost colony, every child who cried on moving day. We would remember it all. I signed the founding papers with a shaking hand. My advisors told me I looked like a man who had just made a promise to the stars themselves. Maybe I had. The work began the very next morning, and it would not stop for 300 years. The first breakthrough came faster than I expected. Just 12 years after the banishment, our scientists cracked something the Council had told us was impossible. We called it clean fusion, endless energy, enough to power cities, ships, and dreams we had never dared to dream before. The Council had hidden this science from us. They had told us it would take thousands of years to discover. They had lied. When I saw the first fusion reactor come online on Mars, I stood there for a long time. I watched the blue light of the reactor fill the testing chamber. I thought about Zetha's smug face. I thought about what was coming for him. And I smiled. But this was only the beginning. What came next would make the Council's mistake look like the biggest mistake in galactic history. They should have destroyed us when they had the chance. Now it was too late. The humans were building something. And we had all the time in the world. 300 years passed, 300 years of silence. From the human system, 300 years during which the Council forgot about us, laughed about us, sometimes told stories about us to frighten their children. But inside Sol's system, hidden behind clever false signals and fake broadcasts, humanity was becoming something new, something dangerous, something the Council could never have imagined in their worst dreams. My name is still Caius Vance. They call me the Eternal Admiral now. My body has been kept alive by science the Council would call magic. My mind has guided humanity through every step of these 300 years. And today, finally, we are ready. Today we return. Our ships wait at the edge of Sol's system, 50,000 of them, each one carrying technology the Council cannot match, each one carrying humans who have been training for this day since the moment they were born. The children of the banishment, the grandchildren, the great-great-great-grandchildren, all of them raised on one story, all of them taught one lesson. We do not forget. I stand on the bridge of the flagship. Remembrance, the ship is 40 km long. It would have been impossible to build when I was a young man. Now we build a dozen of them every year. My first officer, Captain Oliver Pike, turns to me. He is 7th generation. His great-great-great-great-grandfather served under me during the banishment. Eternal Admiral, he says, the fleet is ready. Your orders. I look out at the stars. Somewhere out there Zethan still rules. Somewhere out there the Council still sits in their silver hall, fat and comfortable and certain they are about to have a very bad day. Oliver, I say quietly, take us home. Home, sir. I nod, and my smile is the same cold smile I showed Zethan 3 centuries ago. The galaxy is our home now. We have been away too long. The engines fire, the fleet moves forward. The quarantine beacons, which the Council thinks still work, send back the same fake signals they have been sending for centuries. The Council will not see us coming. They will only see us arriving. And when we arrive, they will finally understand what they did 300 years ago. They did not banish humanity. They only taught us patience. And now patience is over. The fleet crossed the line at 400 ship time. The quarantine beacons the Council had placed around our system so long ago did not even notice. Our engineers had replaced their inside centuries ago with our own devices. The beacons still sent signals to the Council. The signals said everything was normal. The signals lied. I stood on the bridge and watched the stars change. For 300 years humans had seen only the same stars of Sol's system. Now new stars appeared on our view screen, stars we had not seen since the banishment, stars that belonged to a galaxy we were about to change forever. Captain Oliver Pike stood beside me. He was a good officer, calm under pressure, Smart in a fight. His face showed no emotion as the fleet moved through deep space faster than anything the Council had ever built. First target coming into range, sir, he said. I nodded. We had chosen the first target. Carefully, it had to send the right message. The Krill border fleet, I said. How many ships? 8,000, Admiral. Their entire forward force. 8,000 Krill warships, 300 years ago. That number would have been a nightmare for humanity. Today it was simply the first step. Battle stations, I said quietly. The order went out. Across 50,000 human warships, crews moved to their posts. Gunners checked their weapons. Pilots sat in their fighters. Soldiers prepared to board enemy vessels. Every human knew their job. Every human had trained for this moment since childhood. And every human remembered why we were here. The Krill were the ones who had attacked our colony all those years ago. They were the ones who had taken our children. They were the reason the Council had put us on trial. They were the start of it all. And now we were the end of it all. The Krill detected us at 4:32. By then, it was already too late. Their commander, a hive lord named Scrix, opened a communication channel. His insect face filled our main view screen. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. Unknown vessels, he hissed, you have entered Krill space. Identify yourselves or be destroyed. I stepped forward into the camera view. I made sure he could see my face clearly. I wanted him to remember this moment. I am Caius Vance, I said. You may remember me. 300 years ago, you attacked one of our colonies. You took our people. You caused my species to be banished to our home system. Scrix's mandibles stopped clicking. His large black eyes stared at me. I could see recognition there and fear. Humans, he whispered. Humans, I agreed. We have come back. I'm giving you one chance to surrender. Power down your weapons. Open your ships. Accept our terms. If you do this, no Krill will be harmed today. Scrix laughed. It was a horrible sound, like crickets being stepped on. You foolish little ape, you think your primitive ships can threaten the Krill hegemony? We have been building our fleet for 3 centuries. We are stronger than ever and you are alone. Is that your answer? I asked. That is my answer, human. Prepare to die. Very well, I said. I cut the communication. I turned to Captain Pike. Deploy the Phantom Swarms, full attack pattern. Yes, sir. What happened next the Krill would later call the 11-minute war. Our Phantom Swarms were our newest weapon. Small drone ships, thousands of them per warship, all controlled by artificial minds that thought faster than any living being. They flew in patterns no human pilot could match. They hit targets no human gunner could hit. They moved like a single living thing with 50,000 bodies. The Krill fleet opened fire first. Their plasma weapons cut through empty space. Our Phantom Swarms were already moving, already dodging, already gone from where they had been aiming. Then our drones struck. Krill's ships began to go dark one by one. Not destroyed, disabled. Our weapons were designed to disable without killing. We took out engines. We cut weapon systems. We sliced through communication arrays. The Krill fleet tried to fight back. They launched their own fighters. They fired their big guns. Nothing worked. Our Phantom Swarms were everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Every shot the Krill fired missed. Every shot we fired Hit exactly what we wanted to hit. 11 minutes. That was all it took. At minute 11, Scrix's face appeared on my view screen again. He was on his knees in his command room, the lights behind him were red and flashing, his mandibles drooped in defeat. "We surrender," he said. His voice was small and broken. "Power down all weapons, open all airlocks, prepare for boarding," I said. "Yes, Admiral." I turned off the screen. I looked at Captain Pike. He was staring at me with something like wonder. 11 minutes, sir," he said. 8,000 enemy ships, not one of our people lost. This is what 300 years of work looks like, I said, but this is only the beginning, Oliver. The Council does not know we are here yet. Soon they will. And soon the whole galaxy will know. I did something then that no enemy had done to humanity in 300 years. I opened every communication channel in the galaxy, every Council broadcast system, every civilian news feed, every planetary network. My face appeared on billions of screens across hundreds of worlds. The Valoria saw me in their silver palaces, the Zalothi saw me in their green temples, the Orithans saw me in their crystal halls, families at dinner tables saw me, children doing homework saw me, leaders in their government buildings saw me. And I spoke. "I am Caius Vance," I said. 300 years ago, this council banished my people. You took our worlds, you sealed our skies, you told us we were savages, you told us we would never return. You were wronged. I let my words hang in the air for a moment. I knew what was happening across the galaxy. Emergency meetings, panic calls, military alerts. The council was scrambling. Humanity has returned, I continued. Our fleet stands in Krill space. Their border force has surrendered. This is what happens to those who stand against us. There is another path. Those who wish to avoid pain have a simple choice. Open your worlds to us, stand down your fleets, accept the new order of the galaxy. Those who do this will be welcomed as friends. Those who resist will be moved aside. I leaned closer to the camera. I wanted every being in the galaxy to see my eyes. "To the Valorian Dominion," I said, "to Grand Arbiter Zethon, if he still lives. I made you a promise 300 years ago. I told you we would return. I am keeping that promise now. You have time to prepare, use it well." I ended the broadcast. The silence on the bridge was heavy. Captain Pike finally spoke. "That will wake them up, sir." "It will indeed, Oliver. Now let us see what they do." What they did was panic. Within hours, every major power in the galaxy had mobilized its military. Valorian dreadnoughts lifted off from dozens of worlds. Zalothi war hives opened their doors and released battle swarms. Smaller species scrambled to pick sides. We watched it all from our fleet. Our sensors were so advanced that we could read military orders from halfway across the galaxy. "They are forming an alliance, sir," Pike reported. "The Valerians are calling all council members to stand together. They say humanity is a threat to all civilized life." "And the Orithans?" I asked. Pike checked his screen. He smiled slightly. "The Orithans have refused the alliance, Admiral. They are sending a message to us now." "Put it on screen." The ambassador who appeared was old. Very old. Her crystal body was cracked and worn in places, but her eyes were the same eyes I had seen 3 centuries Ago, the only white vote in the hall. Admiral Vance, she said, her voice was like soft chimes. You remember me. I remember you, Ambassador Lysera, I said. You voted for us when no one else did. I voted for what was right, she said. The council was wrong that day. Many of us knew it. Few of us had the courage to say so. I have waited 300 years hoping this day would come. Your people will not be harmed, I promised. You have my word. We accept your terms, Admiral. The Orthan Federation surrenders peacefully. We ask only to join your cause, whatever that cause may be. Welcome back, Ambassador, I said. Softly, you have been missed. She bowed. The channel closed. Captain Pike was shaking his head. Slowly, one surrender already, Admiral. And we have not even reached Valorian space yet. The Orthans understand power when they see it. They understand numbers. They calculated the battle before the battle started. They knew. Will others follow? I looked at the star map in the center of the bridge. Hundreds of worlds glowed. There, hundreds of species, hundreds of choices to be made. Some will follow Oliver, some will fight. That is the way of things, but by the time we are done, every world on that map will fly our flag, one way or another. We moved deeper into council space, world by world, system by system. Some fought us. Their fleets were brave. Their weapons were the best their species could build. None of it mattered. Our technology was simply too far beyond theirs. We did not win battles. We ended them before they could truly begin. But here is what surprised me most. Here is what the council had not planned for. Many species did not fight us at all. The Dravani, a race of four-armed traitors, surrendered before our fleet even reached their home world. Their leader told me they had been waiting for a way out of council rule for centuries. The council had taxed them to the edge of starvation for generations. The Malachi, gentle beings who lived in floating cities, opened their skies to us with celebrations. They had been forced to give their children to council service academies. They had hated it for 1,000 years. World after world, we found the same thing. The council had not been kind to its members. It had been cruel, greedy, tyrannical. Many species had been waiting for someone strong enough to break the old system. And we were that someone. I started to understand something important. We had left Saul's system, planning to conquer, but we were doing something else. We were freeing. We were liberating. We were giving species their first real choice in thousands of years. It changed how I thought about our mission. It changed how we moved forward. Captain Pike came to me one evening as I watched a peaceful sunset on a newly freed Malachi world. Sir, he said, we have word from Valorian space. Their fleet has gathered at their home world, 200,000 ships, the largest gathering of warships in galactic history. 200,000, I repeated, against our 30,000 that can reach them in time. Yes, sir. I smiled at the sunset. The Malachi suns painted the sky in colors that did not exist on Earth. It was beautiful. Oliver, I said, prepare the fleet for departure. Tomorrow we sail for Valor Prime. Yes, Admiral. And Oliver. Sir. Grand Arbiter Zethu is still alive. Our spies confirmed it yesterday. Pike raised one eyebrow. That is a very long life for a Valorian, sir. He used the same life extension technology I used. He wanted to see his Empire rule forever. I turned away from the sunset. He will. Instead see his empire fall. I will make sure of it personally. We left the Malachi world the next morning. Our fleet pointed itself toward the heart of Valorian space, toward the capital, toward my old enemy. The biggest fight of our lives was coming, and somehow I had been waiting 300 years for this exact moment. Valor Prime was the most beautiful world I had ever seen. 300 years ago, standing in its great council hall, I had noticed this even while being sentenced to banishment. The planet had silver oceans that reflected its twin suns, forests of golden trees covered entire continents. Floating cities drifted above the clouds like gentle giants. Now those cities were covered by shield generators. Now those oceans hid underwater fleets. Now every beautiful mountain had weapons mounted on top of it. The Valyrians were ready for war. Our fleet arrived at the edge of their system, 30,000 human warships against 200,000 Valorian vessels. The numbers looked terrible, but numbers do not tell the whole story. Captain Oliver Pike stood beside me on the bridge. His face was calm, but I knew him well enough to see the tension in his shoulders. Sir, he said, Valorian command is hailing us. It is Grand Arbiter Zethon himself. Put him on. Zethon's face filled the screen. 300 years had not been kind to him. His skin, once smooth and silver, was now cracked and dull. His eyes, once sharp with pride, were now sunken deep into his skull. But his hate was still there. I could see it burning behind his tired eyes. Caius Vance, he whispered, you truly came back. I told you I would, Zethon. You look different. You look worse. He smiled, and even his smile looked tired. You have no idea what you are doing, human. You do not understand what the council truly was. You do not understand why we had to keep you small. I understand you were afraid of us. We were afraid for you, he said. That gave me pause. His voice carried something I had not expected, not fear, not anger, sadness. Explain, I said. Surrender your fleet, Zethon said, and I will tell you everything. You do not know what waits in the deep parts of this galaxy. You do not know why we have kept younger species from growing too large, too strong, too noticed. If you destroy our council today, you will doom us all, every species, every world, everything. I looked at Captain Pike. His expression told me he was wondering the same thing. Was this a trick, or was Zethon telling the truth? Zethon, I said carefully, you will have your chance to explain, but first, stand down your fleet, remove your defenses, accept my authority over this system, then we will talk. I cannot do that, Caius. My people would never forgive me. Your people, I said, are about to forgive or hate you for far worse things than a peaceful surrender. He was quiet for a long time, then he straightened his shoulders, which made him look a little more like the proud arbiter I remembered from long ago. Then let us fight an old enemy. Let history decide who was right. He cut the connection. I turned to my fleet commanders. Ships from a dozen surrendered species flew with us now. Oritin crystal ships, Dravani trade warriors, Malaki support vessels. This was not just a human fight anymore. This was something larger. All ships, I said, prepare for combat. Zethon wants a war. Let us give him one. He will never forget. The Battle of Valor Prime lasted 6 Hours, 6 hours that would be taught in schools for 1,000 years to come. The Valyrians fought with the desperation of an old empire facing its end. They threw everything at us, wave after wave of their beautiful silver ships, weapons their scientists had been perfecting since before humans had invented the wheel. Tactics developed over 10,000 years of war with other species, and none of it worked. Our phantom swarms overwhelmed their fighters, our jump-capable dreadnoughts appeared behind their battle lines and broke their formations. Our cyber warfare units turned their own command systems against them. Our Oriton allies shielded our capital ships with crystal barriers that even Valyrian plasma could not break through. Ship by ship, world defense by world defense, we dismantled the mightiest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. But we did it carefully. We did not destroy, we disabled, we did not kill. When we could capture, we did not burn cities, we did not target civilians. This was not the end of the Valorian people, this was the end of Valorian rule. By hour 6, the battle was over. Valorian ships floated in space around their world, most of them still in one piece, but with their engines and weapons dead. Their commanders sent surrender signals from every direction. Only the Valorian homeworld itself still held out. Zethan himself, somewhere down there in the great silver palace, refused to give the final command. I brought our flagship down through the Valorian atmosphere. It was an impossible thing for a ship our size to do. The council ships of old could never have survived the entry forces, but our new technology allowed what used to be impossible. We landed in the great plaza in front of the council hall, the same place I had walked out of in disgrace 300 years ago. The same marble floor, the same silver pillars reaching up toward the sky. I walked down the ramp of my ship. I wore a simple uniform, no ceremonial armor, no weapons. I wanted Zethan to see me as I was, a man, a human, nothing more. The doors to the great hall opened. They were the same doors I had been led through so long ago. They still moved with perfect silence. Inside, the hall was empty except for one being. Zethan sat on the Grand Arbiter's platform. He looked very small up there, now very alone. I walked down the long center aisle. My footsteps echoed just as they had 300 years ago, but this time the echoes sounded different. This time they sounded like something coming to an end. I stopped at the bottom of his platform. Zethu, I said. Chaos, he replied. Your fleet has surrendered. Your world is surrounded. Your allies across the galaxy have fallen or joined us. There is nothing left. There is still pride. Pride died in this room 300 years ago. Old friend, you killed it yourself when you mocked me for defending my people. He flinched, actually flinched. I had never seen him do that before. Chaos, he said slowly, will you listen now, please, not as my enemy, just as a fellow being of the galaxy. Will you let me tell you the truth? I looked up at him. Whatever strength remained in his ancient body, whatever pride kept him upright on that platform, I could see that something else was there too. Fear, real fear, deep fear. Tell me, Zethu. He closed his eyes, then he began to speak. Long before your species touched the stars, Chaos, there was another power in this galaxy, older than the Valorians, older than any species currently living. They were called the Devourers. They moved between the stars and they consumed worlds not like normal enemies. They ate the very energy of living things. Whole civilizations vanished into their hunger. He opened his eyes. They were bright with old memories and old terrors. The council was formed to survive them. We drove the devourers away 100,000 years ago. We sealed them beyond the galactic edge, and we swore we would never let the galaxy grow too loud, too bright, too full of life again, because loud, bright, full of life galaxies are what brought the devourers the first time. They are drawn to civilization. They eat it. So you kept younger species small on purpose, I said slowly. You suppressed us so the devourers would not notice the galaxy. Yes, you understand now. I understand what you thought you were doing. I also understand that you were wrong. Zethon looked surprised. How were we wrong? Because you made yourselves rulers. Instead of teachers, you made us your children. Instead of your partners, you took away our choice. You assumed we could not be trusted with the truth, so you lied and you ruled and you oppressed. And in the end, Zethon, you created exactly the enemy you feared. Humans, hungry, angry, determined, growing so fast you could not stop us. His old face twisted with sadness. Have the devourers returned chaos? I paused. I had not told him this yet. Nobody outside my innermost command knew. Our Orden allies detected signals too. Months ago from deep space, something is coming back, something very old, something very hungry. Zethon's shoulders sagged. He looked for the first time ever defeated. Then you must gather the galaxy, chaos. You must do what we failed to do. You must lead us all. I plan to, Zethon. I have planned to for a long time. I walked up the steps to his platform. I stood in front of him. He looked up at me. He was so old, so very, very old. Old man, I said softly, I am not going to harm you. I am not going to imprison you. I am going to do something much worse. What? I am going to make you work for me. He blinked. What? You know more about the old council structures than anyone alive. You know which species can be trusted. You know where the devourers were sealed. You know 10,000 years of galactic history. You are going to teach us everything. Every secret, every truth, every lie you ever told. He stared at me, and then slowly he did something I never expected. He laughed. It was a dry, broken laugh, but it was real. Chaos Vance, he said, you really did grow into something we never expected. We always were Zethon, you just did not see it. He nodded. Then he stood up slowly and painfully, and he walked down from the Grand Arbiter's platform for the last time in his life. He followed me out of the Silver Hall and into the new age of the galaxy. The Terran Imperium was made official too. Months later, it was not a human empire. Though humans led it, every species that joined received equal rights under its laws. Every world that surrendered peacefully kept its own government, its own language, its own customs. We asked only for loyalty to the Imperium and unity against what was coming. Most species joined willingly, even the Valorians, even the Krill. Zethon himself became an advisor, traveling from world to world to explain the truth about the old council and the coming danger. Across the galaxy, 1,000 species began working together for the first time in history, not under threat, not under oppression, under snorts, shared understanding that something far worse than human rule was coming. I stood on the balcony of what had once been the Valorian Grand Arbiter's palace. The silver walls had been kept. The beauty of Valor Prime had been preserved. Only the cruel laws had been thrown away. Captain Oliver Pike stood beside me. He had been promoted to admiral during the last days of our war. "Everything is changing so fast, sir," he said. "It has to, Oliver. The galaxy must change or it will not survive. The Devourer's signals are getting stronger. I know we have perhaps 10 years, maybe 15, maybe less. Are we ready, Admiral?" I thought about my answer for a long time. I looked out at the beautiful world below us, at ships of 20 different species flying together in its skies, at the purple evening as it fell over the silver oceans. "We will be, Oliver, we have to be." A servant approached with a message. It was from Ambassador Lysera, the Orthan, who had voted for us so long ago. She was bringing a report from the deep space observation posts. Something had crossed the outer boundary of the galaxy. Something was moving inward. Something was coming. The next part of our story would not be about humanity getting revenge. It would not be about conquest. It would not be about empire building. All of that was done. All of that was finished. The next part of our story would be about survival, not just for humans, for every species in the galaxy, for every civilization, for every living thing, under every star. I went inside to prepare my orders. Fleets needed to be built, weapons needed to be designed, warriors needed to be trained. Every species of the galaxy, now united under the Terran Imperium, would need to work together as they never had before. The banishment that had happened 300 years ago now looked like such a small thing, a mistake by small-minded beings who were afraid of change. It had seemed like the end of humanity at the time. Instead, it had been the beginning of something much bigger. We had been banished. We had been forgotten. We had been written off. And in being forgotten, we had grown into exactly what the galaxy needed. We had become what no one else could be. We had become the ones who would save it all. Not because we were the best, not because we were the strongest, not even because we were the smartest, but because when everything was taken from us, we had learned to build everything again from nothing. And that is a skill the Devourers, for all their ancient hunger, had never learned. The war with the Devourers began on a Tuesday. Admiral Oliver Pike came to me in my private chambers. His face was pale. I had never seen him so shaken. "Eternal Admiral," he said, "they are here. Outer sensor posts are going dark. One by one, they move faster than we expected, much faster." I stood up from my desk. I felt my old bones complain. 3.5 centuries was a long time to be alive, even with the best life extension technology, but I was not done yet. I still had work to do. "Call the War Council," I said. "Every species leader, every fleet commander, every scientist who knows anything useful. We meet in 1 hour." "Yes, sir." The meeting that followed was the most important meeting in the history of the galaxy. I'm not saying that to make it sound impressive. I am saying it because it was simply the truth. 1,040 species were represented in that room. Every one of them had questions. Every one of them was afraid. Every one of them looked to me for answers. I gave them what I could. The Devourers are ancient beings, I said. They are larger than any ship we have ever built. They exist in more dimensions than we can see, normal. Weapons will not hurt them, normal. Tactics will not work against them, but we have been preparing for this day for 300 years, whether we knew it or not. I pointed at a hologram floating in the center of the room. It showed the enemy. Massive shapes too big to be called. Ships moving through space in ways that seemed impossible. They warped the light. Around them, they left rips in space. Behind them, everywhere they went, stars went dark. Every human who ever lived and saw system during the banishment prepared us. For this, I continued, every piece of technology we built in those 3 centuries will be used here, and every species that joined us willingly or unwillingly now has something to contribute. The Valorians have ancient records of the first Devourer War. The Oretans have crystal science that can shield against dimensional weapons. The Krill have biotechnology that can regrow destroyed ships in days. The Dravani have trade networks that can move supplies across the galaxy in hours. The Meliki have peaceful technologies that can heal our wounded faster than any medicine. I looked at every face in the room. Faces of 1,000 different shapes and colors, all afraid, all listening. We are the galaxy, I said, not the council, not the Devourers, us together. And the galaxy is going to fight back. The first battle came 3 days later. A Devourer appeared at the edge of a small system on the outer rim. They had only one inhabited world. Meliki colony of 30,000 beings. Our fleet arrived in time to evacuate most of the population, but not all of them. A Devourer does not care about small numbers. It simply came forward and consumed the world. It ate the planet, not the rocks and dirt, the life, the energy of everything that had ever been alive there. When it was done, a dead gray ball hung where a green and blue world had been minutes before. We fought the Devourer. We lost 200 ships. The Devourer seemed unharmed. It moved on toward the next system. That night I stood on my flagship and thought about what we had just seen. I had thought I understood what the enemy was. I had been wrong. This was not a war. This was extinction. This was something different from anything any species in the galaxy had ever faced. Admiral Pike came to find me. He had lost his younger brother in that battle. He had not cried yet. He would cry later, when there was time for it. Sir, he said quietly, what do we do? We adapt, Oliver. It is what humans do best. It is what we taught the rest of the galaxy to do. We learn and we chain. And we keep going. But how do we fight something that cannot be harmed? I smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile I had learned to wear in dark moments. Every living thing can be harmed, Oliver. We just have not figured out how. Yet give us time. Give us one more try. Give us one more idea. We are humans. Figuring out the impossible is our specialty. It took 3 years, 3 long, terrible years of losing battles and losing worlds, 3 years of evacuating colonies while Devourers ate them behind us. 3 years of watching systems go dark on our star maps, one after another, like candles being blown out. But we learned. Every battle taught us something. Every scientist studied, every sensor reading. Every engineer tried a new kind of weapon. Every warrior discovered a new way to slow down the enemy, even if they could not stop them. And then one day it happened. a young human scientist named Iris. Holloway came to me. She was no more than 30 years old, bright eyes nervous, hands a mind like lightning. "Eternal Admiral," she said, "I think I know how to hurt them." I listened, she explained. It took her 3 hours to explain it all. The math was beyond even my improved old brain, but I understood the main idea. The Devourers did not exist fully in our reality. They extended into dimensions we could not normally reach. Normal weapons passed through them because they weapons existed only in our 3 dimensions, but if we could build weapons that also reached into those other dimensions, we could touch them. We could harm them. "Can you build such a weapon?" I asked. Iris smiled. "I already have, sir. I just need an entire fleet to test it on." I laughed, really laughed for the first time in years. "You shall have one, Dr. Holloway. You shall have the biggest fleet in history." The turning point came at the Battle of Nexus Gate. 6 months later, our fleet met 7 Devourers at a major junction point. We were ready for them. Our new weapons, built from the Orothan, Crystal Science and the Valorian dimensional records, and Dr. Holloway's breakthrough math, fired as one. For the first time in 100,000 years, the Devourers felt pain. They did not die easily. It took all 7 of our main battle fleets. It took 2 days of continuous fighting. It took the lives of 8,000 brave souls from 40 different species. But we killed them, all 7 of them. And the galaxy heard the news, and hope, real hope, came back to everyone. The war lasted 50 more years after that. 50 more years of finding Devourers and hunting them down. 50 more years of losing good people and losing good worlds. 50 more years of adapting and learning and improving. But we won slowly, steadily, completely. When the last Devourer fell to a combined fleet of 2,000 ships in the forgotten reaches, I was there. I watched it happen through the view screen. The thing screamed in dimensions we could hear in our dreams, and then it was gone. Its body collapsed into dust. Its energy scattered into normal space. The galaxy was free. Not just free from the Devourers, free from fear, free from the old lies, free from everything that had held it back for so many thousands of years. I stood on the bridge of my flagship that day with Admiral Oliver Pike, who was now very old himself. We had fought together for over 100 years. He was one of the last people left who remembered the early days of the Imperium. "Sir," he said, "we did it." "We did, Oliver." "What now?" I thought about his question for a long time. What came next? What was left to do? "Now we rest," I said. "Now we build. Now we teach our children what we learned. Now we make sure what happened to us never happens to anyone else. Any young species that rises will know the truth. They will not be suppressed. They will not be hidden. They will be welcomed. That is the new way. It is a good way, sir. It is the only way, Oliver. I am very old now. My body is failing in ways that even our best science cannot fix forever. I have been alive too long. I have seen too much. It is time for me to rest. Before I do, I wanted to tell this story, the whole story from the beginning to the end. They called us savages. They banished us. They thought they had beaten us. They were wrong on every count. We were not savages. We were students who had not yet been given a chance to learn. When we learned faster than they could imagine. They did not banish us. They gave us a home, a place to grow without their interference, a laboratory to build the future in. And they did not beat us, they only delayed us. For 300 years we prepared. For 50 more years we fought. For a century after that we rebuilt the galaxy. And now, as I look out at a sky full of ships from 1,000 different species, all flying under one flag, all living in peace, I know that we did the right thing, not by becoming the masters of the galaxy, but by becoming its servants, by lifting up the species the old council had kept small, by teaching the strong ones that kindness was not weakness, by showing everyone that being different was not a reason to fear each other. I see a young girl in my view screen. Today she is 7 years old. Her name is Lily. She is Valorian. Her teacher has just explained to her class who I am and what I did. Lily raises her small silver hand. Her teacher calls on her. Miss, Lily says, when I grow up I want to be like the Eternal Admiral. I want to be brave and kind. Is that okay? Even though he was human and I am Valorian. Her teacher smiles. Sweet Lily, that is more than okay. That is exactly what he would want. I turn off the view screen. I close my eyes. 350 years ago, I stood in a silver hall, full of angry faces. I was sentenced to never see the stars again. I was told my people would die in our little corner of space forgotten by history. And now a Valorian child wants to be like me when she grows up. This is what the Council never understood about humanity. We are not strong because of our weapons. We are not great because of our fleets. We are not feared because of our anger. We are strong because of our hope. We are great because of our love. We are feared because even when everything is taken from us, we keep going, we keep trying, we keep building, we keep believing that tomorrow can be better than today, even when everyone tells us it cannot be. We were banished, we returned, we conquered, and in conquering we freed. And in freeing we united, and in uniting we saved. That is the story of humanity. That is the story of the Terran Imperium. That is the story of what happens when you banish a species that refuses to be banished. My eyes grow heavy now. I think I will rest for a long time, perhaps, maybe forever. But before I do, let me say one last thing for any ears that might be listening. We came back. We always come back. Remember that galaxy, remember us, and when your dark days come, know that somewhere in the hearts of humans, in the hearts of every species we ever touched, there is still a flame that refuses to go out. That flame is called hope. It is the most human thing there is. And it is the thing that will save us all again and again, forever. Good night, galaxy. I did my best. I hope it was enough.